Hello and welcome back to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man J.P. It's been a while, or it feels like it's been a while. It really hasn't been that long, but it feels like kind of a long time. So, I just, as a lot of you know, life just gets busy sometimes, and I just haven't really had a chance to actually sit down and do a video and whatever. But I'm back, and today what we're doing is we're going to go back in time. We're going to hop in the DeLorean and go back to the year 1988. That's right, to March 27th, 1988, from Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And the event was Wrestlemania 4. Wrestlemania 4. This was an event that's not really talked about a whole lot. And I don't know why. Maybe because some people think it was just lackluster or not really that memorable. I don't know. And honestly, I didn't even know about it until years later. Like probably 1990 something is when I finally, you know, correlated WrestleMania 4 with whatever, but with how Macho Man won the title. But so, I mean, I've talked about this story before, the whole thing with $1 Million Man coming in and offering to buy the championship from Hogan telling him no. And then they did this whole screw job thing with two referees on a Saturday night main event where Andre beat Hulk Hogan and then immediately sold the title to DiBiase. And then WWF President Jack Tunney stripped DiBiase the belt and put it up in a big tournament at WrestleMania 4, which is where we are right now. So, so Trump Plaza Hotel Casino, it was a building that was mostly supposed to be for boxing. Like the arena part of it was mostly supposed to be for boxing. But of course, Donald Trump, being a friend of Vince McMahon's and being a friend of the WWF, he happily told him, "Hey, come on and have it at my venue." So he hosted the next two WrestleManias. Donald Trump did, and so now this is not intended to be political. This is years before he had been president. So if you're a person that doesn't care for Donald Trump, please don't send me any hateful messages or anything because it's got nothing to do with him. So so Gorilla Monsoon, Jesse Ventura were the commentators for this event. And we started things off with Gladys Knight, who was a Motown singer from the time. And I think she's still around. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe she's passed away. I don't know. Let me know if you know if she's still around. I don't know. But anyway, she sang America the Beautiful. Then they got right into the action after that. It was a 20-man over-the-top battle royal in which, there were a lot of guys in this thing, like the Hart Foundation and George the Animal Steel and Sika and Sam Houston and Bad News Brown and Hillbilly Jim and a bunch of other guys. But when it came down to it, Bad News Brown had eliminated Bret the Hitman Hart to win the big ginormous trophy that they gave away, this big ginormous thing. And so because they were going to just win together and split the winnings, but then Bad News Brown double-crossed Bret, gave him the ghetto blaster, eliminated him, won the trophy. Bret Hart got angry, came in, smashed up the trophy, chased off Bad News Brown. But Bad News Brown is a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because maybe he didn't end things too well with Vince McMahon and the WWF. I don't know. I don't focus as much on the backstage stuff as much. I do a little bit, but not as much as some people. Some people are just obsessed with like what went on behind the scenes. And I don't know, all that stuff is interesting, I guess, but you watch these shoot interviews and it's just one guy's word against another guy's. And it's like, who do you believe? I don't know. But nevertheless, I was more focused on what I actually saw on screen. And so Bad News Brown was kind of his whole character was he wasn't really friends with any of the bad guys. He wasn't friends with the good guys. He was sort of a man unto himself. He was like the real one man gang. The one man gang was a wrestler, but he was actually friends with some bad guys. But Bad News, he wasn't friends with anybody. And he was kind of a brawler, street fighter guy from Harlem, kind of rough and tough kind of guy. I liked him as a heel. I thought he was a convincing as a heel, and he was, from what I understand, he was supposed to have a run with Hulk Hogan. He was supposed to have a long feud with Hogan, but then I guess he got in a dispute over some pay that he wasn't happy with. I don't know. Like I said, that's backstage stuff. I don't know, but Bad News won the scene because they had plans for him and they were going to push him to the moon. But nevertheless, then we get into some of the other matches, and then there was this big tournament for the WWF title, like I said, but we'll get into that in a minute. Single match, Ultimate Warrior victorious over Hercules, and Brutus the Barber Beefcake wrestled Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental title. Honky Tonk Man, of course, won the title from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wanted to leave the WWF, so they took the title off and put him on the Honky Tonk Man. I believe it was Hulk Hogan's idea. But anyway, Brutus won the match, but it was by disqualification, so title can't be won that way. So Honky Tonk Man holds on to the title. So Buddy got to put Jimmy Hart to sleep and cut his hair. Brutus did. So that was the consolation prize, I guess. Tag team titles also on the line as Strike Force. Tito Santana and Rick Martel. They were the champions, but they were defeated by Demolition, Axe and Smash, who were a relatively new team still, but they were a heel team. At first, they were managed by Luscious Johnny Valiant, but then they were managed by Mr. Fuji. And during this event, they were heels managed by Mr. Fuji, and they won. They won the match, they won the titles to begin their long run as tag team champions. So that was a fun match. So then we have this big, huge, ginormous tournament for the WWF Heavyweight title. There's a lot of guys in here in this tournament. Most of them were like mid-card level guys. Most of them you kind of knew, okay, yeah, there's no way that guy is going to win this tournament. But nevertheless, they put all these guys in this big tournament anyway. And of course, there were guys like Jake the Snake Roberts and Ravishing Rick Rude and Dino Bravo and Don Morocco and Greg the Hammer Valentine and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And, there's, and of course, Hulk Hogan, $1 Million Man, Andre the Giant, One Man Gang, Bam Bam Bigelow. All these guys were in this big tournament. So, now in the first round, of course, most of the mid-card guys, with the exception of Macho Man and DiBiase. Both of those guys got wins in the first round, but there's something I want to address. One of the first round matches. Okay, so in the first round, One Man Gang wrestled Bam Bam Bigelow, and the referee in that match was awful. If you go back and watch the match, so One Man Gang had thrown Bam Bam over the top rope. And so the referee, instead of the One Man Gang, kept coming back and knocking Bam Bam back off the ring apron. So usually referees will hold the guy back and say, hey, stay back so I can count. But no, the referee just kept counting 1, 2, 3. He counted to 10, even though One Man Gang kept knocking Bam Bam off the ring apron, wouldn't let him get back in the ring. So Bam Bam lost by count out. But honestly, and I know I'm trying to apply logic to an illogical situation, but if you go back and watch that match, normally what the referee will do is if a guy knocks a guy off a ring apron, the referee will push that guy back and say, hey, stay back so I can count this guy out. Then he'll start the count all over again. But no, the referee just kept going 1, all the way to 10. Bam Bam gets counted out. Wen Bang Yang wins the match and gets a bye into the semifinals. And I'm like, that's kind of. I think that referee should be fired immediately because that was a terrible, terrible, terrible job of officiating. I know it wasn't real per se, and I know that was supposed to happen, but anyway. Anyway, so in the second round, Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant wrestled each other, but they were both eliminated. So at this point, you kind of know, okay, so the only logical two guys to be in the finals are Macho Man and DiBiase, because all the rest of the guys were mid-level guys at best, and none of them were getting a real big push at the time. So Macho Man was no longer Intercontinental Champion, and he had lost it to Ricky Steamboat a year before, and so there was nothing holding him back. And DiBiase, well, he had already bought the championship, and they were trying to make him the top heel. So Macho Man was a big babyface, so that was the only natural conclusion, and that was the conclusion to this tournament. It was Macho Man and DiBiase in the finals of this tournament. Now, Elizabeth was there for the Macho Man, but she could only do so much. She can't get involved physically, but Andre the Giant was there in the corner of DiBiase. So Andre, he kept messing with Macho Man. He kept holding his leg when Macho Man tried to bounce off the ropes and stuff. So Macho Man, middle of the match, sends Elizabeth to the back. He whispers something to her and sends her to the back. The match resumes. Moments later, Elizabeth comes back with Hulk Hogan. That's when I'm thinking, okay, Macho Man's probably going to win this thing because Hogan's going to neutralize Andre, allowing Macho to win the match. But honestly, if you watch the end of this match, DiBiase had Macho in the $1 Million Dream. He was about ready to win the title, but Hogan comes in, hits DiBiase with a chair. DiBiase goes down. Macho Man goes to the top, lands the elbow, gets the 1, 2, 3, wins the title. That was kind of a heel thing for Hogan to do. I mean, I think that kind of stuff was kind of the precursor for Hollywood Hogan. Hogan turning heel years later in WCW, where you could kind of make the argument, okay, Hogan always kind of had those heelish tendencies in him, but now he's just letting them out. But anyway, Macho Man wins the title, thus starting a year-long storyline with the Mega Powers, which will bring us to WrestleMania 5 the very next year. So I'll talk about WrestleMania 5 next time. But this time, I want to know, how many of you remember WrestleMania 4? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Leave it in the comments below, tell me. And if you're new here, that's going to do it for this video. But if you're new here, please go ahead and click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and because we're just having fun over here, we're just talking about old school wrestling, and I will see you next time.